networks. And there's a lot of minor networks. There's a lot of cable stations and a lot of radio stations and shortwave stations. And there's a lot of people who use the internet because there's no closing down the ideas today, so things move much more rapidly. I've discovered how quick things move, and they of course use the term viral. Well, the viruses in the computer industry is much faster than the viruses I studied in medical school. Because before I decided to run and make the announcement, somebody leaked the information, and I had one person and one secretary, and this information was leaked that I was going to run. And that thing spread. We literally got thousands of phone calls. And we really had two people, then people rightly so got upset. Why don't you answer our phone? Why don't you answer the phone? And it seemed like we were always behind the 8 ball from the beginning to the end. But that was a good thing, the fact that we were so overwhelmed. But the enthusiasm is still there, and that to me is great. But this will continue. The campaign, in the conventional sense, has ended, but the campaign for liberty, in many ways, has just begun. Yeah. And actually, the organization that picked up where the other campaign left off is called, appropriately, the Campaign for Liberty. And I imagine some of you have heard about that. There's a website, it's called campaignforliberty.com. And some of you may even heard that we had a little bit of attention drawn to the website today because we're going to have a celebration. We're going to have a celebration in Minneapolis, and that's going to be called a Rally for the Republic. We'd like to remind the whole country and the Republican Party that there's ways to become more popular. I don't want to see the Republican Party disappear off the map, but I want the Republican Party to stand for something. They have to believe in something. Our party would shrink if we really held our beliefs and convictions and exposed those to other people. People would join us. The young people would join if they know what we stand for. But today we had the opportunity, I think it opened at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, to purchase tickets to come up to Minneapolis. And we ended up getting a nice result. The first proposal made to me by the staff was, why don't you rent a place for 5,000 people? And I said, don't you think that's pretty big? I said, 5,000 people? I said, you know, the presidential campaign's over, where's going to be the interest? Then they convinced me or argued with me, and I'm always the one that's reluctant and a little conservative. And they finally talked me into getting a place that had 11,000. And that I thought was astounding to expect we could get 11,000 people to travel up there. And this may have been a mistake. I hope not, but they finally convinced me to go and get one that has 13,500 and 4 or 5 additional thousand if we really needed it. Well, today, earlier in the day wasn't even completed, we had 6,200 people sign up. Wow. So I guess it's good to have people who are even more optimistic than I am on my staff to keep prodding and pushing. But that is encouraging. And I know what it's for, because I know it's for this whole idea that we have a problem, that we have some answers, and it's found in the message of liberty. It's found in our traditions. It's found in our Constitution. It's found in what has made our country great. And the emphasis has always been on liberty in this country, not dependency, not cradle to the grave socialism. It wasn't ever founded on a police state, and we're developing a police state. And it was never found on American empire. Right. And the Republican Party traditionally has always argued against the empire. And the more wars have been started by the Democrats and the Republicans. And now, it's not even a question of the wisdom of the foreign policy. It's the fact that it's going to end for financial reasons. We don't have the money. We did not have to fight the Soviets, thank goodness. I was called to military duty in 1962 and drafted into the military. And that was during the Cuban crisis. And that was the height of the Cold War. And yet, And everybody was worried, rightfully so. But that Cold War ended. It ended with the Soviets just dissipating. It fell apart for economic reasons. It was not a viable system. And yet today, we don't quite understand that. We're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing in some of the same countries. I mean, just think, both the candidates right now want more of your kids into Afghanistan, more into the Middle East, forever and ever. But you don't have any money. We're broke. And the dollar's going down. We don't have any money in the bank. You either have to borrow money from China and other countries, or you have to print more money, which devalues your dollar, which means people will want your dollar less, and prices are going to go up. Every time you look at your gasoline bill, that's a tax. It's a tax because the value of your money has gone down. But the important thing is, a lot of people are starting to understand this, and they're understanding economics, and they're studying this. And the alternative is so great and so wonderful to defend liberty. Because liberty and the Constitution, this is one thing I firmly learned this year. I knew it theoretically, but I never quite saw it. The ideas of liberty bring people together. And when you think about it, it should. It's the idea of authoritarianism. People in Washington who want to tell you what you do with your life, what you eat, what you drink, and what you smoke. And they tell you do this and do that, and what you say and what you do, the whole thing. And then they want to tell you how you're going to spend all your money. And then when the pie shrinks and people get unhappy, you get divisive, you get competitive. But in a free society that is prosperous, and of course I've come to the very firm conviction that prosperity comes from freedom. It doesn't come from a planned economy. And we're working in that direction right now. The Federal Reserve is about to take over a lot more power. So unless we change it gradually through legislation or we wait for the collapse, I mean, it will have to end. But freedom brings people together because it's not challenging. In the social sense, what you do with your own life is your own business. And if you don't hurt other people, people should leave you alone. So this means that people should come together. We sort of understand this in the religious sense. We know that we can have a mosque and a synagogue and a church all in the same street, and nobody's standing out demonstrating. That's sort of ingrained that we're supposed to respect that. But when it comes to other issues, we're always telling people what to do with their lives. That you can't even ride your bicycle without wearing your helmet. It's good advice to do those things, but why is it that we have the nanny state telling us on and on? So freedom really makes us non-confrontational and brings people together, and that's why I've always been so excited about our rallies. Not the young people, the older people, and people from all walks of life. And that is how, if you're looking, your sole goal is to build a political party, that's what we should be doing. We should be emphasizing liberty, not how we're going to take care of a couple of our special interest groups. And that's what's happening in Washington today. What happens when the government takes over, the special interest takes over. We don't have socialism as much as we have something leaning toward fascism. It's corporatism. Because if you look at the military-industrial complex, wow, do they have an investment in this? Keep it going. Keep the Halliburtons happy. What about the medical-industrial complex? What are they doing? It's the drug companies. Do you think it's the poor people who come and lobby us to get prescription drug programs? They weren't out there doing that. It was the drug companies. They kept us in session one night, all night, because the drug companies wanted that bill passed. And insurance companies and drug companies, health management companies, and even our own AMA. Do you think they go up there and fight for the patient and free market medicine? No, they don't. They're up there arguing for more fees for the doctor. So this is what we invented or created, and we've been warned by some Austrian economists that this country is more likely to go toward a fascist system rather than the old-fashioned communist system because our corporations are so much involved. And then the corporations and the government gets in bed together, and there's a lot of that. So our answers are found in freedom. Our answers are found in the Constitution. We do need to understand that freedom has come to us in recent years in pieces. There was a